Day in the life at the dialysis clinic, I feel looks very similar whether you're a dialysis patient, dialysis nurse, or dialysis tech. We're all in the same place, we just all have a different viewpoint. I'd also like to mention, I think initially from the outsider's point of view into the dialysis patient's life, dialysis looks very easy. You come to the clinic, you get hooked up, you're on the machine for 3 to 4 hours, you get to sleep, like, oh my gosh, like that sounds like my dream job. Like that's what I said at first. What I've come to learn is that the only truth in that statement is that dialysis is a job and they spend a lot of time on their healthcare once they come into dialysis. And one of my number one mistakes I've made as a dialysis nurse, or just like a nurse in general, is that I set my expectations too high. And what I mean by this is I come into work and I think that my day is going to be perfect. I'm going to get there on time. There's not going to be any sick calls. The machines are going to work. The catheters are going to work. The patients get there on time. Everything's going to be great. How often does that happen? Never. And to be honest, that would be very boring. And really what I've learned as far as expectations for my day is all I can really expect is to enjoy my cup of coffee on my way to work. Everything else is up to God. And to be honest, there are times where I have spilled my coffee, you know, like getting into the car. So even sometimes that expectation is too high. So I am going to kind of give you just like, not necessarily like the perfect day in the life, but I'll give you what a regular day looks like, and then what, I don't want to say bad day because that's perspective, but what a day in the life at the dialysis clinic looks like with some extras. We have some like extra things thrown in. Also, during this day in the life at the dialysis clinic, I'm going to try to use the viewpoint of the patient, because it's been my experience that they have the best viewpoint. They are the most positive people you will ever meet. Something goes wrong and they just have gratitude. They're like, yeah, it happens, it's okay, you know, you're running late, everything's fine. And I'm not saying that like every single patient is like that. Like there are definitely some Eeyores out there, but for the most part, dialysis patients have the most gratitude patients you will ever find. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been in dialysis so long. I want to talk a little bit more about what a regular day in the life of a dialysis patient is at the dialysis clinic, and I'm going to leave out all the extras. I'm going to leave out all the things that can go wrong. We'll bring the patient in, we'll get their weight, we'll do their assessment. From usually when we bring them in to when we hook them up takes about 15 minutes. We check their blood pressures, we do education with them, and we hook them up, and the blood pressure will go off and they'll have a smooth treatment with no alarms. Their blood pressure will be great. They'll have no issues with fluid removal. And that's as simple as I can get as far as day in the life of the dialysis patient, when everything goes smoothly. But just like everything doesn't run perfectly. There are things that are going to happen and we have no control over it. The patient before them, maybe they had issues, so they're in that chair longer, and that's going to delay their start time, so they're in the waiting room longer. Or maybe they come in, we hook them up, and their catheter is not working. So then we need to do all these adjustments, and there's a lot of alarms, and then they start to feel sick because the machine keeps starting and stopping. Maybe their fistula isn't working well. Maybe the needles didn't go in smoothly. Maybe their blood pressure is low. Maybe their blood pressure is high. The machine can break down, and then you get on late because the machine breaks down. Or your fistula is not working, so we need to send you to IR to have that declotted quickly. Or something else is going on. Your potassium's high, or you have fluid overload, and we need you to come in for an extra treatment. Sitting in the chair, like, it seems easy. And then I kind of thought about it a little more. I'm like, sitting in a chair for like 3 to 4 hours. I've done that on airplanes, and that was kind of hard to sit still for 3 to 4 hours, and there's not a lot of room, there's not a lot of like space to move. And it's kind of similar with these patients. When they're in that chair, they have to keep their arms still for 3 to 4 hours. They're getting their blood pressure, their arms squeezed every half an hour. We're coming over and we're rechecking their blood pressure, or we're adjusting their needles, or the machine is alarming, or somebody else's machine is alarming. We do a lot of education, whether it's like about fluid or diet or infection prevention. And sometimes that can sound like a lecture, and sometimes that can get old, but this is real life. These are things that happen at the dialysis clinic. Dialysis is work, but that's my perspective. If you talk to a dialysis patient, they have a very different perspective than I do, but I do have compassion and empathy for what they have to do to stay alive. People on dialysis have other chronic illnesses. Some of them are like old, and they have old bones, and it's hard to recline for 3 hours. Their hips get sore, their butts get sore. We do offer waffle cushions to kind of help with those things, but it is hard to sit still. But when I say all of this, this is my perspective. You ask the patient, they don't complain about these things. The patients have so much gratitude, and they're just like, oh, the machine broke down. Oh, well, so it goes. You got a backup? Well, that's great. But the patients are just so special. So you hear me, like, this might sound like me complaining about like what can go wrong in a given day, but the patients don't. I really mean that. You will have a handful of patients that might be bothered by that, and that's okay. That's their right. But for the majority, our patients just have so much gratitude for life. They always look at it like rose-colored glasses, and they're just like, well, this is a life-saving procedure. I have to be there. I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to get out of the house. I'm grateful to see my friends at the clinic. They've gotten to know us over the years. They're happy to see us too. It's just such a unique experience. It's really hard to convey that in a video, but if this is something that you're looking for as a nurse or a caregiver, definitely check out dialysis nursing. Other things to know about the day in the life of a dialysis patient is they'll be at the clinic for probably like 12 to 15 hours a week. And then that it doesn't end just at the dialysis clinic. They have things that they need to manage when they go home. People on dialysis have a high pill burden, and that's not just because of the kidney disease process, but a lot of patients on dialysis also have heart disease. They might have diabetes. They might have other like chronic pain conditions, whether it's arthritis in the knees or hip. So those are things that they also have to manage at home. They have strict diet restrictions. They'll have other doctor's appointments, and some of the doctor's appointments might be related to dialysis, whether it's something with their catheter or their fistula, or maybe they just have other doctor's appointments for their other disease processes. It could be with cardiology, it could be with infectious disease, it could be the wound clinic, it could be with their primary care. And a lot of our patients are on the transplant list or are working to be on the transplant list. So then they have other doctor's appointments to become active on the transplant list. And this will include like dental appointments, cardiology appointments. Again, they need to make sure that all of their preventative maintenance is up to date. Like if they're over 40 and they need an annual mammogram or colon cancer screening, a lot of them need a cardiac cath to make sure that their heart is healthy enough for the transplant. So these people are very busy, but I'm gonna tell you again, they do not complain. They are just full of gratitude and acceptance. I just love it. They teach me a lot. They show me how to be grateful. They show me how to have acceptance. And I mean, what a gift. A little bit more about the day in the life of a dialysis patient at the clinic. Dialysis patients become very autonomous, and this might just be the type of patient they are or something that's learned. I don't really know the reason why, but I'm just grateful that it happens. Some dialysis clinics, there is staff turnover, and it's not necessarily because staff keep quitting. Usually it's because of travelers that come, finish their contract, leave, and then we get new travelers. So patients are used to having new staff, and they are used to telling people, this is where the needles go, this is how my blood pressure is. And it's so much fun. I have been training new staff, and I've been using the dialysis patients as a resource. Like, okay, what's next? If the new staff doesn't know, I swear, this has happened to me like a handful of times. The patient will be like, well, now you clamp, now you put my feet up, now you start the machine. Okay, yep, my goal is for 2 liters. That's right. I'm on the machine for 3.5 hours. Okay, you've got my blood flow at 350. That's great. It is a miracle in itself, the community that is built at the dialysis clinic, and I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for all of you, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time.